Let's talk Venezuela here. We just got word that there has been yet another boat strike. What can you tell us about what's developing right now?
Yeah, Gotti, this time in the Eastern Pacific, and according to a post on social media from U.S. Southern Command, of course, that's the area where these strikes are occurring. It's the regional command down towards South America and Central America. This one killing 4 individuals. So we're now talking about 24 strikes that have been taken since this all began on September 2nd. Of course, we've heard a lot about that first strike on September 2nd. That is the one that has become so controversial, with questions about whether not just the first strike itself was legal, but then the decision to carry out a second, a third, and even a 4th strike after it became clear that there were 2 survivors who were in the water. Admiral Bradley, who's the head of U.S. Special Operations Command. He was the head of Joint Special Operations Command at the time. He has been on the Hill, including this week, talking to members of Congress and senators, justifying that decision, as have Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Marco Rubio has also been on the Hill talking about this, and a slew of other officials. But there are still questions that remain, including from both sides of the aisle, Gotti. Now, the majority of the outcry has been from Democrats, but we have heard from Republicans who have expressed real concerns about what is being known as a double tap. That is, this decision to carry out a strike on the boat, even after, on September 2nd, even after it was clear that there were 2 survivors. So again, today, another strike on one of these alleged drug boats, this one in the Eastern Pacific. That makes about half and half with the ones that have been in the Eastern Pacific versus the Caribbean. And the real question right now is, what will we hear from President Donald Trump in this primetime address that you have been talking to Gabe and to Hallie about here, when it comes to Venezuela? Now, the U.S. had been this pressure campaign that had existed since early September. That had been largely military-based in going after these alleged drug boats. But this shifted recently, and there's now an economic pressure as well, Gotti, and that is the U.S. seizing this oil tanker last week, taking it back to the United States. The president now last night on social media saying that he's going to enact a full and complete stop of all of these kinds of boats, the ones that are under sanction, these large tankers under sanction. What's really clear here is this is shifting into the economic pressure campaign that the Trump administration wants to carry out against Nicolas Maduro, the head of the president of Venezuela. And just today, we heard not just that President Trump is interested in going after the drugs, interested in bringing Nicolas Maduro's regime down, but now today he openly said that he wants to get the oil as well, Gotti. A pretty stunning admission from President Trump. We're waiting to see what more he says about that here tonight.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or watch live on our YouTube channel.